start of minicamp, so the schedule's a little bit different. Just how much we're doing with them for the next 3 days, but we are going to use all 3 days. Some people that are we're going to just be smart with out there today, likes of Sweat, Tomlinson, Zay Jones, Justin Jones, Will Johnson, a couple other guys, but guys that we're just going to be smart with at this time of year. Other than that, everybody's good to go, and we're looking forward to a good day today.
How's attendance?
Yeah, everybody's here.
How different is the structure of this minicamp as opposed to maybe last year's?
Pretty similar. The practice schedule is set up a little bit different with some different situations, but pretty similar.
Are you allowed to do different things now during minicamp?
The time constraints, off the top of my head, Craig, so I don't get in trouble. Time constraints are a little lessened, so we're going to use the time, have a little more meeting time, things like that. But it's kind of the same flow of practice, what's allowed.
What can you get accomplished in minicamp that you can't do in OTAs?
You just get a little more time with them, a little more time on task.
You've only gotten to see them in limited sessions, but have you seen the progression from day one of mandatory minicamp?
Absolutely. Through 6 practices, we talk about it all the time. It's like there's guys that have really taken to heart what they needed to improve, and you've seen it over the course of 2 weeks now, going on to our 3rd week. But from drill work the first day to drill work the 6th day, or in drills, or in team setting periods. You know what I mean? And we just got a team meeting. They're on it. So I think we've increased our brain power, our horsepower, so to speak. So that's good. And it's kind of this period to me is kind of a stepping stone just to training camp. So introduce those guys to a lot, all 3 phases. And then, they need to be able to retain it going into July 23rd or 22nd, whenever we start, and then hit the ground running.
When the conversation comes up with all quarterbacks, we always talk about they get too much of the credit, too much of the blame, that kind of thing. With the mental side of that, is that something that coaches talk to a quarterback about, of dealing with that type of pressure or that type of heavy scrutiny?
Well, that would be an external factor to me, Darren. So we're trained not to let external factors dictate how you feel or think or perform.
What's been your overall view of the pass rush room?
Pass rush? Well, I say it's easier for those guys because we're not in pads. I think the O-line has the disadvantage because they got nothing to grab. But I like it. Some guys have worked on, really perfecting their craft of how they're rushing. And I think, when we talk about get off, each guy, or when we talk about pass rush, each guy's a little bit different, where some guys had to work on just their get off. Some guys had to work a little bit at the combat point. Some guys had to work at the finish point, which is hard to work the finish point right now because I make them stay away from the quarterbacks. But they're doing a good job. I think Matt Feeney's done a really good job with those guys. Debo's done a good job with those guys. To really improve their game, you know what I mean? And it's got to be a collective effort, but they also have to win one-on-ones, you know what I mean? So it's however many you guys got into the rush, you need as many guys as you can to win, and they have to do it rushing together as well.
Have you seen any difference in Kyler, whether it's physically, mentally, from a leadership standpoint, from the time you left him in January to where you are now?
I think he always continues to increase his command of the offense, his command of the team. His arm always looks good to me. It looks alive right now. It really does.
Coach, philosophically, I know people talk about building a team from the inside out and get the offensive, defensive line going. Do you feel like this team is better this year? I know it's early, OTAs and do you feel like team's better than most interior line?
Talk to me after New Orleans, right, Craig? We're not in pads, so I've made the mistake before where I kind of instant evaluate where we are without pads on. It's not real. It's just not. So I do think both offense and defensive line has improved since we've been here. Do we have a long way to go? Yeah, both lines. But you said it. We have to control the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball if we want to have a chance to win.
Along those lines, when you're talking about it's not football, because not enough of football because of the pads. When you're kind of evaluating everything that's gone on in the summer, do you start in your mind's eye kind of thinking about where this roster is headed, or is it just way too early because you're not in the pads and you're not doing those kinds of things?
Every day you think about it, where it's at, where it's headed, who's trending, who's not, who's going to show up a little bit more in pads, who's going to disappear a little bit in pads. That's real too. Think about it every day. Talk with Monty about it every day. Talk about it with the coaches every day. But also knowing that, to Craig's point, we got to see them in padded practices and live settings, in preseason games, joint practice versus Denver, whatever we're doing. Those competitive periods really kind of show you where you're at.
Kind of an off-topic question, but what was it like having Kenny Dillingham out here a couple weeks ago?
Awesome. He's got major juice. He's very smart. He thinks about the game a really unique way, I think. He's on it. I would say he's a guy that's on it.
You talked about joint practices with Denver. How many days will you be?
We're just going to have one big one. So we're going to practice with Denver Thursday. We'll get there on Wednesday, practice on our own, practice Thursday versus Denver, Friday be on our own, and then play them Saturday night. So excited about that. That was a good, it's at altitude, the first thing. So that'll be a good training exposure for our guys. Obviously Sean Payton's one of the best to do it. Their schemes are different than ours, all three phases. They got really good players. They're a playoff team. I mean, it's going to be a good joint practice for us. I'm looking forward to it. But when I say I'm looking forward to it, I am. But I'm worried about today.
What's the balance like of trying to evaluate these guys without pads and trying to determine?
Yeah, you can evaluate a lot. You know what I mean? Like, first of all, the two things that go in our mode of play is our effort, our motor. You can evaluate that on high days, you know what I mean? But from a standpoint of alignment, assignment, key technique, are they doing the right things with what calls to be done by scheme? Are they executing at a high level? They got their eyes in the right place? Are they playing with the right technique? You can do all those things, you know what I mean? So, you just don't have the to push it over the edge of legitimate contact in pads, you know what I mean? But everybody's doing the same thing that we are, so everyone's kind of in the same bucket as there as far as contact. But I think our guys have definitely made a jump, but they also know there's another big jump to take.
You obviously talk a lot about tackling. When you get someone in from outside of the organization, how do you train that with them during these times when you don't have pads?
Teach them how we tackle, drill it, coach it.
Did you move things up because of the temperatures?
No, I moved them up because we got a longer time to be with the good question. I probably would have, because it's going to be hot. They don't mind the heat. It's good for them to train in the heat.
Walter just signed his contract, and that was kind of a foregone conclusion, but just his progress so far, again, early, can't do a lot of what he's going to end up doing. How do you feel?
Yeah, you see some traits show up, and we go fast. There's no doubt about it. He's got some twitch to him. He's got some power to him. He's done a really good job. Mentally, he's done a really good job because we've kind of sprinkled in some different things with him, playing him in a couple different positions. But he maximizes each day. I know that. And, whatever you tell him, he listens, I think they had a kind of an education session on nutrition. And we're in the dinner line together, and I see him measuring with a fist his broccoli. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? He's like, well, they said, about a fist, so he listens. He's doing good. He's doing well.
Is it impressive to just see throughout your years of coaching how much sports science has changed the game?
Yeah. It's like, kind of, I don't want to say it comes and goes. It doesn't. But I think what you see is just like schematics, just like players, just like any sport. Like, you continually try to get better and find an edge, you know what I mean? So we're in that same boat. We're always trying to improve for our guys to make sure that we're doing everything that we can on our end to make sure they're the best version of themselves. So You know, and you take in a lot of information, you get a lot of opinions, and it's that world is there's a lot of different opinions on a lot of things, you know. But you got to do what's right for your guys, right for you, and that's what we try to do.